Running a good mystery in D&D can be difficult, and it's easy to fall into the trap of trying to replicate your favorite thriller novel or TV show. My goal with this video is to give you a clear and concise framework that you can go through step by step to make a mystery D&D adventure, give you examples at each step, and give you ideas to make your mystery encounters more varied so it's not just one perception check after another. I also want to show you how to create a clue map, which isn't something I've seen many other people talk about, but has helped me immensely. Thank you so much to Describe for sponsoring this video. I'll show you how you can ratchet up the tension in your mystery adventure with the music and sound effects tool Opus by Describe. Welcome to the table. I'm Kelly, and I'm not the killer.
Who is committing all these murders?
Actually, it was me. It was me the whole time.
It's a twist!
The biggest difference between your favorite mystery book, TV show, or movie and a mystery D&D adventure is who controls the point of view. In a mystery novel, the author controls the point of view and decides when the audience gets to see certain clues or pieces of information. In a mystery D&D adventure, your audience, or your players, are in control of the point of view, and they get to decide which clues they find and in what order, to a certain extent. Writing a mystery novel is all about feeding little pieces of information to your audience to lead them along a carefully constructed path, whereas writing a D&D mystery adventure is all about building a clue sandbox for your players to play around in and discover things and make conclusions at their own pace. In a D&D mystery, you as the author have much less control over when and how the mystery will be solved.
Let's consider each murder one by one.
And that's okay. It'll work better and be more fun if you let go of that control and just let the adventure play out. But there are lots of things we can do when writing the adventure to make sure your players won't stall out and also won't solve it right away, like making a clue map. Before we get into that, I want to lay out all the steps and then we'll dive into each one in more detail. Step 1 is to come up with the inciting incident, or the beginning. Optional step 1A is to up the intrigue. Step 2 is to write the conclusion to the mystery, the end. Optional step 2A, write a twist. Step 3 is to make a clue map, filling in the middle of the mystery, which is the bulk of the work. And step 4, and this one is crucial, try to solve your own mystery. We'll dive into each of these with some ideas for more interesting encounters, lots of tips for creating clues, how to create a twist, and what we can learn from mystery novels and TV shows. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Step 1 is to create the inciting incident. I could only think of 4 types of inciting incidents, but I'm sure there are more. A death or a murder, a disappearance, a theft, and a 4th category which I've called spooky happenings. This includes things like strange symbols appearing around town, townsfolk doing things they don't remember, a strange sickness, or the tavern door exploding every night at midnight.
You're only supposed to blow the bloody doors off!
If you run a few mysteries, challenge yourself to try one inciting incident from each category to keep things fresh. When I'm starting out, I just write a single sentence for the inciting incident, not worrying about any clues or anything like that at this stage. Something like, a golden amulet has been stolen from the local temple, or a murder happened in the local market. Step 1A is the optional up the intrigue step. Just a word of caution with these optional steps, they make the mystery much more complicated to write, which can be really good, but can also be overwhelming. If you're writing your first mystery adventure, I'd skip the optional steps for now. Alright, step 1A. Take your inciting incident sentence and add a but or an and. A golden amulet has been stolen from the local temple, but no one seems to be able to actually describe what it looks like. Or, there's been a murder in the market, and the body disappeared before it could be buried. Like I said, this step is optional, but taking an intriguing incident and modifying it, it can make the mystery that much more tantalizing and delicious. Mysteries. Don't worry about it. Now that you have a beginning, it's time to skip straight to the end. Your players won't get instant gratification, but you sure can. Step 2 is to write the conclusion. In this step, I answer all 5 of the H's. Who, what, why, where, and how.
You're saying it weird.
Saying what weird?
All of it.
Who did it? What exactly did they do? How did they do it? Why did they do it? And where are they now? I list out all these questions and answer them one by one, usually in random order. I start with whichever question comes easiest, and I find that the answers to the other questions usually come out once I start with one. This is also the time you'll need to decide if you want to put in a twist. All modern thriller novels have a twist. Did you know that there's actually a set formula that many authors follow? There's typically one twist at about the 50% mark, then a big one at the climax around 85% of the way through the book.
Professor Plum, You knew that Mr. Body was still alive.
And then another one right before the end in the last 5%. Twists are baked into mystery novels and are considered an essential part of the genre. But in a D&D mystery, they aren't necessary at all. This is because your players will be drawing their own incorrect conclusions along the way and making their own twists as they go along. So you really don't need to write one in, your players will do that for you. That being said, if you do want to write one in, I have some thoughts. The first and most important being that it isn't necessary to have a twist at all, and you shouldn't try to force one in. No twist at all is way better than a poorly executed one. The second is that you can't be precious about your twist. If you decide to write one in and your players figure it out right away, let them have it. Don't try to be precious about it, keeping it a secret, and trying to put your players off the scent. This will only make your players frustrated and feel deceived. In a D&D adventure, you may get to reveal the twist at the end during the big showdown, or it may happen right at the beginning, but just let it happen when it happens, don't fight it. Third, and this is so important it probably should have been first, but never lie to your players. There can be characters in your world that lie to your PCs, but you as the DM should never lie to your players. It'll make any twist feel cheap, and it'll make your players angry at you. If you say to your players, this person is telling the truth, and then later the twist is that they were lying the whole time, that's a bad twist, and it will make your players upset.
It's a twist!
No, it's a lie. A lie is not a twist.
If you as the DM state anything as fact, it needs to be true. If an NPC tells a lie in dialogue, that's okay, but if you, above game, state anything, it needs to be true. With that out of the way, how do you write a twist? Well, first we need to actually describe it in concrete terms so that we can understand it, and then we can make our own. I found this great quote from a conversation between two thriller authors. A reveal is an answer to a question the reader, or player, knows to ask. A twist is an answer to a question the reader, or player, did not know they should have asked. So how do we take advantage of that? How do we anticipate which questions our players will ask? Well, I'm excited to tell you, right after I tell you about how you can increase tension and suspense with sound effects and music from the sponsor of today's video, Describe. Thank you so much for sponsoring this video. Describe has partnered with Michael Gelfi Studios to create Opus, a music and sound effects tool that can help you bring your games to life. Until recently, Opus has been mainly a tool for GMs to use to set the scene. But there's a new feature. Players can now play sound effects in the game to enhance the descriptions of their characters' actions. And don't worry, GMs can silence any players who get carried away. Once players are invited to an Opus session, they'll see sound effects listed on the side. If they play them, everyone in the session will be able to hear. When players are describing that killing blow or casting a particular spell, they can enhance their description by playing sound effects. There are over 70 player sound effects included for free, or players can explore the full library with the free trial using my code. After joining Opus, players can also curate their own soundboard so their favorite sounds are always at the ready. For GMs running mystery adventures, there are pre-made mystery and intrigue playlists, or you can put together your own board including a soundscape, some ominous music, and creepy sound effects, along with some descriptions so that everything is at your fingertips when the big reveal happens. Check out the link in the description and use the code PowerWordSpill for an extended 30-day free trial. So, how do we anticipate which questions our players will ask? We need to figure out the most basic assumptions that our players will make right at the beginning based on the inciting incident and twist that assumption. The more basic the assumption is, the higher chance that your players won't question it. If an NPC gives the party this quest and says there was a murder in the market, they're probably going to assume it was a murder because the very first introduction to the scenario is that someone has told them it was a murder.
How fresh.
Just in.
Or, drilling down further, a more basic assumption could even be that the victim is dead. Maybe they faked their own death. Or, an even more basic assumption would be that this person existed in the first place. Was it just an illusion? You want to take advantage of an assumption that is so basic no one would ever think to question it. With the stolen amulet, maybe it's not stolen because it actually belongs to the person who stole it, and the temple took it from them first. Or maybe the amulet never existed at all. Oh wait, we just did that one. Writing in a twist works best when the inciting incident produces assumptions, like with a dead body.
He's dead!
And less well with something that's already mysterious, like weird symbols appearing around town, unless the town doesn't actually exist at all. Oh wait, that's the same one again. If you decide to write in a twist, it'll be incorporated into the answer of one of your who, why, or how questions. In my mystery, the who is Agnes. She lives in the town and she's secretly a mage. The why is that she wants to be the mayor. She thinks the mayor is corrupt and incompetent and thinks she can do a much better job. The what is she's trying to frame the mayor for murder by faking the murder of a traveling musician and planting the mayor's dagger at the scene of the crime. The how is Agnes hired a traveling musician to publicly criticize the mayor and sing insulting songs about him. Then she hired a thief to steal the mayor's dagger. Then she hired a young child to go and buy the components for the silent image spell from the local magic shop. Then she stole a pig from the local farmer and drained its blood. Then she paid the musician to enter the market, buy something from a stall, sneak out the back, and leave town immediately. Then she staged the scene behind one of the stalls at the back of the market, dumping the pig's blood on the ground and planting the dagger. Then she hid in another stall and waited for someone to approach. She then cast silent image and produced the image of the dead musician. Once the person ran for help, she dismissed the spell and fled. Now on to step 3, making a clue map. I haven't seen many people reference a clue map, but I find it really helpful to lay out clues in this way to make sure that everything is connected and to get a sense of how many clues are out there and how many layers there are. This can also be useful for laying out any adventure or campaign because every D&D adventure basically follows this format. Get a piece of information that leads you somewhere, where you find another piece of information that gives you more leads, and so on until you find the big bad, or assemble the device, or cure the plague, or discover who the mastermind is, or whatever it is. So how do we make a clue map? You can use something like draw.io, or you can use sticky notes and a dry erase board. I'm using the backside of my dry erase grid. You can use anything, but it's easier to use something that allows you to move pieces around without having to erase everything. Figure out your starting location based on the inciting incident and write that location at the top of your board. Now figure out the location of the final showdown and write it down at the bottom. I like to make this diagram based on locations because no matter what the clue is, your players are going to need to go to a place to do something.
Follow me to the fellowship room.
Fellowship room! Fellowship room!
Making it location-based means you can make sure all of your clues point to another location, which means that your players are always going to be able to move forward and not hit any dead ends. Now, look at the answers to the why and the how questions from step 2, and circle the different elements. Ideally, the why is pretty simple and will just have one circle, but the how will have multiple elements. In my mystery, for example, the why is that Agnes wants to be the mayor. That's one. And then in the how, there are many circles. Agnes hired a traveling musician would be one. To publicly criticize the mayor would be another. Go through the whole answer, circling all the elements. Then write out each circled element, and anytime the perpetrator is referenced, replace it with someone. Now you should have a bunch of someone action statements. For each of these statements, come up with 3 clues. Why 3? The 3-clue rule is referenced a lot in D&D mystery writing, and it's from Justin Alexander on the Alexandrian blog. The 3-clue rule states that you should have 3 clues for every conclusion you want the players to make. This will account for any missed clues, and it'll also clear up any doubts if the players are unsure about reaching a conclusion. When writing your clues during this stage, make them easy. The clues themselves shouldn't require any deduction. The deduction will come from putting everything together. I try to use a variety of clues, and to do that, I like to think of clues in categories. People-based clues, like someone saw something or someone knows something about someone else. Object-based clues, like finding a letter or a spell component. And location-based clues, things like footprints or broken glass.
Let's, split up and search for clues.
For my mystery, the first statement I have is someone hired a traveling musician. The clues I have are a note to the musician from someone with instructions to sing insulting songs about the mayor and an offer of payment. The innkeeper heard 2 voices in the musician's room, and the musician told someone they were hired to sing insulting songs about the mayor. Write each clue down on a sticky note. Now group any clues together that would need to exist in the same location. Take your clue groups and start laying them out in rows of 3. If you wrote in a twist, identify the circled elements that give away the twist, and then put them in a separate section. Now come up with 3 clues for each twist element. Now put your twist clues in a row at the bottom. Now look at your bottom row of clues, which will either be your twist clues or your regular clues, and make 3 clues that tie those clues to your perpetrator. Once you have your clues, add a location above each clue or group of clues. A location that makes sense for that clue to be in, or put a random location down and then try to justify it when you connect them all, which can be a good way to spark inspiration. Depending on how long you want your adventure to be, you can add more rows to make it longer, or put more clues in one location to make it shorter. If you're adding rows, simply separate 2 rows and put another set of 3 locations down. In these locations, you can add a bridging clue. Look at the clue clues in the row below and try to think of what had to happen between that clue and the previous one. For example, in my mystery, Agnes stole a pig and drained its blood to get the blood for the murder scene. So the clue in the row below is that someone stole a pig from the farmer. But what are some other things that she might need? Maybe someone stole meat hooks from the butcher or butcher's knives.
They stole it from us.
The next step is to come up with encounters for each clue. The easiest type of encounter is a perception or an investigation check, but if this is the only type of encounter, then the adventure can get boring pretty quickly. The perception or investigation check type of encounter is what I'll call exploration, because it usually involves exploring a location and then making checks to find clues. You can spice these up a little bit by adding multi-layer checks to access the clues. For example, if the clue is finding a spell component pouch, you could have that inside a locked chest. Then you could have an arcane check to glean more information about the components. That way you're making a perception check to find the chest, a tool check to unlock the chest, and an arcana check to find out about the components. Puzzle encounters are pretty self-explanatory. Maybe there's a clue in a riddle or a cipher.
Riddle me this, riddle me that.
Social encounters are another easy one to put in and just involve your players trying to extract a clue from a person. Minigames can also be fun to add in and can work well with social encounters. Maybe someone will only help you if you beat them in a game, or you can use my persuasion minigame if the characters need to convince the town to help your players to do something. You can find the persuasion minigame, a couple of one-shots, some modular magic items, prop build diagrams, and all sorts of other stuff on my Patreon, which is linked down in the description. Combat is another type of encounter that you can add in. It's possible that there will be a big combat at the end of your mystery, but there can also be little combat encounters along the way. Maybe there's a thug that the characters try to interrogate who tries to fight them first instead of giving up who hired them. Or maybe they're getting too close so the villain sends an assassin after the players, but that ends up being a clue. I try my best to include at least one of each type of encounter in every adventure. Trying to fit a variety of encounters in sometimes leads you to add fun details and things you wouldn't have thought of otherwise. Alright, we're almost done with our clue map. Now we just need to connect the dots. Every clue location should lead to at least one other clue location. This will ensure your players will always have a lead to follow and won't ever get completely stuck. The start location should lead to all three places in the first row. If the clues at the crime scene don't automatically lead to all three locations in the top row, add clues that will lead to those locations. Now repeat this, connecting each row to the next. I try to have one location connect to two locations, and then the other two locations each connect to one location. For example, in my mystery, the dagger will lead to the mayor's house. There, the players will discover that there's been a break-in and the dagger was actually stolen. The thief is the blacksmith's assistant, so they need to go to the blacksmith next. So I need a clue that links the mayor's house to the blacksmith. At the mayor's house, the players also find some metal shavings and soot that will lead them to the blacksmith. Continue adding clues to link each location to the next. Now you should have multiple clues at each location and there should be multiple paths through your mystery. Your players will be able to get to the end no matter which route they choose, but they'll only get the full picture before the end if they follow multiple paths. There's just one more step to go, and it's absolutely crucial, so don't skip it. Step 4 is to try and solve your own mystery. Play it out in your head, step by step. What questions would you ask the NPCs? Would their answers ruin the mystery? What spells would you cast? Would casting those spells instantly ruin the mystery? If so, change the clues or move things around, or come up with answers to those questions. Maybe that clue should be later on. This is why it's nice to make the clue map with stickies on a dry erase board, because you can move things around until you find an arrangement that doesn't give away too much right at the beginning. And now you have a mystery.
Fascinating.
So remember, step 1, write the beginning. Step 2, write the end. Step 3, map out all the clues, adding a variety of clues and encounters, link everything together, and rearrange them until it works. Step 4, try to break your own mystery. Do you have a creative mystery encounter idea? Let me know down in the comments. Now that you have your mystery adventure, you should put it into a campaign. If you want 10 campaign ideas, including some episodic campaign ideas that would be great for a series of mystery adventures, check out this video here. I appreciate you. Thank you so much to all of you for joining the community that we're building together. It's been an incredible year and I'm so excited for the next one. You are the reason that I keep making these videos, so thank you so much for watching and for all your wonderful comments. I'm going to be taking the rest of January off to start planning out my year of videos and to give myself a head start on some of the bigger videos. I'll also be using the time to work on another exciting project with Loren and my friend Alec that I can't wait to show you guys. I'll see you in February.